Hello Tamers, Sidra back in day with my coverage of BT24 Time Stranger. With this video coming out a little bit late due to being hit with a lot of snow earlier in this week, but I'm finally covering it now with my two boxes. And well, goes without saying that this BT set, just like the prior two, is based off of the Time Stranger video game. As its main focus, it provides a whole lot of overall support for the Time Stranger as an archetype, like it was for Cyber Sleuth, while also providing some other archetypes with some well-needed support. And well, before we get into it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to help with the algorithm. And without further ado, let's get into it. And starting with the first box, on with the knife. Still don't have my regular knife on me from the move until later. So, off. Oh, cutting into the shrink wrap as we begin. And starting off off, we also have a promo pack that comes along to start us off. With 4 cards out of selection, and starting us off, we have the full art for the Gomamon, and luckily enough, you also get 1 copy of the official petrification token for the Elizamon deck. And following that up are the promo cards as well. In which case, the new promo Digilab for CS Trait, and following that up, the new Kazuhamon to pretty much power up the Styracomon deck as a revamped version of the EX4 in a way. And starting us off, onto the first pack, this time starting from the left. We start off with the first boss from Time Stranger, being a new Melgreymon. And then readjusting setting, and following that up is a new version of the Seeker's Ginrymon. And then everyone's mixed feelings boss being Parentmon, and from there a new Liberator themed Kokatorimon, then Snow Goblinmon for the Titans deck, Tapermon, and hitting our first Amon from here being Protectmon for the Hadesmon deck. Then Fuga and Skullgray and the new Elizamon being good draw engine, and from there, once again Blatant Liberator support being the new Digimon, who actually functions pretty fun way, and following that up, the new Medusamon being the more aggro on demand. And getting the setup back to how we usually do it. In my new setup, let's get this over with, and there. And let's continue on with the opening. There. The new War Growl for the Heavy Meldramon deck. Shamanmon, Docmon, Veinemon, Ikaku, and Gil, and then new Seekers Saryu, Tailstream, which following the link plugins from the Styracomon advanced structure, we are now seeing these options as linkable cards, since the option, well, not really options, since the generic moves in Time Stranger work more akin to slottable moves, hence why we're now able to, why these are link option cards now. Then Calamarimon, Shock Plasma is another of the generic moves, and then another Medusa. And for our first SR hit, it's going to be the new Creepymon X antibody. And going over stats, as usual. 13 tower play, 5 to Digivolve generically over level 5 purple, or Digivolves for 2 over Creepymon. And then from trash, during your turn, whenever it sees one of your Creepymon attack, if your opponent has 10 or more cards in the trash, you get to then Digivolve into it without paying the cost, and trashing the opponent's top security. And then in response, upon Digivolving, it gets to delete all the opponent's lowest level, and then you get to play up to 4 play cost totals worth of evil or fallen angel trait cards from trash with paying the cost. Then for every 10 cards in the opponent's trash, you get to add 4 to this effect's maximum play cost, which ends up boosting up the Creepymon deck, given the inherent want to constantly see stuff in trash. And continuing on, new Styracomon to help set up with that, a new Wanyamon, not Pete, and the new Kyokyomon for the Seekers, and the new Sunomon, hinting for Titans, new Vilemon, Super Hacking, and then Bukamon, and then the new Muchomon for Vortex Warriors, Walmon, and the new Ryudomon from Seekers, then a Yukusmon, and Ragermon for the Hadesmon line. And continuing on, we have the opening. Then, Goblin, Cure X, Abyss Sanctuary Throne Room, Peepo on, and then the very good Cyclomon for Dragonkin, Ikaku, Wanya, the new Demetro, Yogamon, Invasion of the Titans, then the new Skull Seizuremon, and apologies for that, camera cut out. And the last that we have that pack was Master Blimpmon, also a new Digimon from Time Changer, who got a card here. Nope, continuing us on with the left side. Paired again. New Sala, Medicmon, new Gautomon, new Kamemon, Vile, Snow Goblin, Blimpmon, Sonic Shot, and then the Smugomon once again, and following that up, Lonamon, and Dzipmon. Continuing on, Vade, Wargrowl, Yidrium, Doc, Kyokyo, Suno, Tapir, Ogre, Sulfur, new Lamia, and then Time Changer Shellmon, and we get Crossroad Witch as the alternate to, just like the other Seekers Tamers, well, most of the other Seeker Tamers who show up. We also have their epithets. In Shuyulin's case, well, specifically younger Shuyulin, hers was the Crossroad Witch. With this new shoe definitely adding some new support to the deck. Be it Digiplace or Digipolice or you. And continuing that on, Shaman, Suno, Hisorium, Kokatori, Gil, Demi-Devi, Skullseta, Submarinemon, Hackmon, and then Unique Emblem Blazing Conductor, Daramon once again, and Sylphimon from Time Changers. Continuing that on. Pixie, Greymon, Greymon Virus, Blue, Loco, Metal Gray Virus, Protect, Garuru, a new Tapmon, Shock Plasma, Eliza, Wall, and then the new own Dreadnought. And following that up is our next SR in the form of the Hadesmon for the Hadesmon deck. Well, just like the other God Grade Digimon, it is purple, white, purple and then white. No, white and then purple, I mean. 12 card play. 4 to generically digivolve off of any level 5 purple or any ultimate grade of any color, with the application conditions of Revivemon plus Biomon, with the overclock ability to pop any Amon traits, with the usual Link +1 for the God grades, with the when digivolving effect that allows you to play out a level 5 or lower system or life trait Atmon from trash with paying the cost. Then you get to link one Atmon card from hand or from its own sources while paying the cost. With the alternates effect, whenever other Digimon are deleted, you may activate the one digivolving effect again. In which case, this allows you to swim the field and fulfill conditions for overclock. And continuing from there, Super Hacking, Werguru, Growl, New Gigi, Peepo, Cyclone, Buka, Central Town Throne Room, Nation of Titans, Yuda, and then we get the new Oriyamon and the new Megijimon for support for heavy metal draw. Then continuing on, Carex, Biz Sanctuary Throne Room, Gobbly, Parrot, Pixie, Guru, Doc, Ogre, Tidal Stream, Bio, Sylphimon, and for next SR, we end up paying the main character, the tertiary character himself, Agiomon. 5 card play, 2 to digivolve generically off of any level 3 yellow, or can digivolve for 2 costs off of an Elecmon or any TS level 3s. Is a barrier body, and has the when moving, on play, and on digivolve effect. By adding your top security to hand, you're able to play out TS Trait Tamer from hand with paying the cost. And this effect can play a card with the same names as Tamers that you already have, also granting the stack barrier. That's another SR hit down, as we are down to the last 3 on the left. And continuing on, Bade, Tapir, Suno Yellow, Loco, Gil, Guru, Wanya, Hyoga, Blimp, Metro, and speaking of Elecmon, the TS Elecmon as the searcher for the deck, and also Styracomon. Down to the last 2 from the left. Hysarium, Gato, Grain, Protect, Solemn, Medic, Growl, Mucho, Skull Greymon, Temple of Beginnings, and then the new Ray Katsura, and then Skull Seedramon again. Next up, final pack from the left, and I swallow myself as given the border. Oh, let's continue on. Demi Devi, Loco, Salo, Tap, Daru, Gato, yep, nothing stuck, Grain, Temple of Beginnings, Blazing Conductor, Skull Beluchimon, and then Elecmon once again. And we get Venusmon as our next SR hit. Nope, she's 12 card play, 4 to digivolve generically off of any level 5 yellow or blue, or alternatively digivolves for 3 off of any level 5 TS trait. Then, whenever she would be played, if you're staying at 3 or fewer security, you get to reduce the play cost by 5. Then, for 1 play 1 digivolve, You trash all the evolution sources of one opposing Digimon. Then, until your opponent's turn, 2 other Digimon or Tamers can't suspend or activate one Digivolving effects, with their all turns being that whenever she sees one of your TS trade Digimon with Liberator, other than by your own effects, you get to place one other Digimon with no sources on the board as the bomb security to prevent them from leaving. In which case, she also pairs well, considering that for the TS Shellmon that we have, she's able to warp into Venusmon, barring conditions are met. And that's it. For the left side, let me get the box out of the way as we go into the right. And starting off from the right, Skull Sodom, Kyoko, Sarium, Grelm, Salem, Malgrim, Protect, Sulfur, Lamia, Samari, Sylphie, and Orymon again. Moving on. Debbie, Val, Grim, Shaman, Gigi, Parrot, Wargaroom, Hack, Blazing Conductor, Shock Plasma, Owen, and In Between Theater, which ends up being the chess traits, archetypal Mem Boost. Then continuing on, Wanya, Super Hacking, Gotham, Doc, Fade, Gil, Tap, Liza, Wah, Central Channel Throne Room, and to go along with the Shellmon is the TS Divermon, who can also warp into Neptumon. And following that up, and look at that pairing, we end up getting the TS Neptumon to follow that up. Oh, he's 12-star play, digitals generically 4 off of any level 5 blue or black, or alternatively can digital for 3 off of any level 5 with the Aqua or Sea Animal trait, or has the TS trait, and can also reduce his hard play cost by 5, while you're saying, well, if your opponent has 2 or more Digimon on board, with the on-play 1 Digivolving effect, to return all opposing Digimons with the fewest Digivolution sources to the bottom of the deck, with an all turns once per turn that whenever he suspends, he may unsuspend, with the all turns effect, with no once per turn clause being that whenever he sees one of your TS trait Digimon or Aqua or Sea Animal trait with Lelia Valeria by opponent's effects, by suspending him down, you then prevent them from leaving the field. Definitely being some good support generically in his own deck, or in a future TS pile deck. And setting up pile as we continue on. And let's see what else we come across, as we still have our two alt-art slots still unfulfilled yet. Kaku, Loco, Snow Goblin, This Sanctuary Throne Room, Peepo, Cyclone again, Buka, Asian of Titans, Ryuda, Ogre, D-Zip, and speaking of which, for our first alt in the set, we come across the main protagonist of Time Stranger as the alt art, being Dan and Kana and Yuki. For art play, with being the memory star of the deck. Oh wait, scratch that. Being a star main, while you're saying at 4 or less memory, you gain 1 memory. With the end of turns effect, by splitting the stammer, you get to use 1 TS trait option, and with as high or lower use costs as your opponent's memory from your hand without paying the cost and when your Digimon with the TS trait may attack. With this definitely allowing you to make use of all of your options based on how much you give your opponent memory. It's a little bit, I already can see where it's getting its inspiration from, taking a little bit of the idea from how the battle mechanics work in the game. And let's see if I can grab my sleeves. This, as this definitely needs to be sleeved up before we continue on. There we go. Now let's continue on. Then Gubbly, Kara X, Graham, Loco, Parrot, Doc, Kyokyo, Title Stream, Bio, Hyoga, Ray Katsura, and 7th Gravitation to go with Creepymon X. And continuing on. Vile, Melgrim, Ikaku, Garuru, Shaman, Saryu, Suno, Blimp, Metro, Mucho, Crossroad Witch, and another SR hit, excuse me, in the form of Marukimon, being 12 star flame, 4 to Digivolve generically off of level 5 green or blue, or alternatively off of level 5 B-Skin or TS trait with a cost of 3. Then, if he would be played while there are 3 or more Digimon board, you get to reduce his play cost by 5. With the on-play on digital effect, suspends down 2 opposing Digimon or Tamers. Then Warrior Digimon gets plus 5000 DP for the turn, and attacks the opponent's, and then attacks your opponent's Digimon. With when Digivolving or when attacking once per turn of Warrior Digimon may unsuspend. With your turn's effect, that grants all Iliad Digimon Neuroside, Rush, and Piercing, as long as he's on board. Then, continuing on, with 1 SR and 1 alternate slot still vacant, Kame, Vade, Salam, Wanya, Suno, Protect, Grelm, Skullgrim, Temple Beginnings, Kalmarmon, Megijamon, and then Daramon once again. Then, continuing on, Skullsadam, Medic, Yi, Tapier, Demi-Devi, Orguru, Super Hacking, Sulfur, Asuna, Sonic Shot, Crossroad Witch, and Elecmon again. Down to the last 3 packs of the box. Let's see what we get. Yep, caught on the edge. And let's continue. Orgrom, Snow Goblin, Pixie, Gato, Tap, Ginryu, Kokatori, Lamia, Goma, Skullbuluchi, Orimon, and following that up for our second alt-art hit, we end up getting alt-art in SR slot being the Inori. And well, going over 3 Goth Star play with the Star main allowing you to gain memory while you're sitting at 4 less memory. Within all turns, whenever your security stack is removed, from by subsending her down, you then get to let one of your Agumon digivolve up into an Agiosmon in hand without paying the cost, which ends up being a self-fulfilling loop, as Agumon already fulfills that condition to trigger the ability to then digivolve up into Agios immediately. And following that up, that ends up making pretty much having pulled the main trio of the game from this one box alone so far, though Agio not an Altart. You know, let's see what we get for our last 2 packs then. Gume, Cyclone, Gobbly, Abyss Sanctuary Throne Room, Buka, Kirax, Peepo, Fuga, Submarine, Hack, and then Hiroko, and Revivemon to follow that up. And for our last pack, let's see what we'll get. Gigi, Kame, Suno, Growl, Wergaroom, Medic, Pixie, Central Town Throne Room, Bio, Asuna, Rei Katsura, and to end us off is the SR hit of Diabora X. 13 tower play, 5 to Digivolve generically off of a level 5 black, or can Digivolve off of Diabora for 2 cost, has Overclock, Unidentified Trait, and Blocker, with the when Digivolving effect to one of your opponent's Digimon, hit him with the Digivolve 1 for each of your Digimon, then delete all your opponent's Digimon with the highest play cost. Then from there, during an all turns, once per turn, whenever your Digimon with the Diboromon name would leave the battle area, you get to play out one Diboromon from hand or from its own sources without paying the cost. And that's it for box 1. Now on to box 2. And then going into the second box and breaking the shrink wrap round before starting. This time going a bit more quickly since we've gone through most of the commons. Opening up first. And starting with the promo pack. Let's see what we get here. As we get full art of the Muchomon and Elizamon. And hitting Yuzuhamon again, and following that up, being the promo Millenniumon. Definitely allowing for the Millenniumon deck to actually loop, in fact. And that's it for the promos there. Now, let's go from the right this time. Again, going much more quickly since we've already gone through most of the already. Gigi. Sylphie, and Oreo again. Owen, and in between, Ray, and 7th rotation. Alec, and Marukimon once again as an SR hit. And making room for the SR pile now. Continuing on. Yep. Don't want to spoil what's behind. Medusa and Yorbar X once again. Yep. Nearly spoiled it. Owen, and would you look at that? We end up paying our, well, one of the secret rares from the set, that being Homeros for the, well, for any of the Olympus 12 related decks, since the being 5 to hard play, as well as getting you 1 memory at the start of your main. And then if you're sitting at 5 or more memory, you're able to then suspend this timer down to then draw 1. With all turns being a global plus 1000 DP for all TS trait, with the end of turn effect to suspend down to then activate a non-play or one Digivolving effect of 1 Olympus 12 trait Digimon. With this definitely allowing the older Venusamon to go off pretty hard, since you'll constantly spamming her ability to hit everything with Sec -1, and thus making the rest of her ability live. And sleeving this up. And let's see what else. As we got one more alt art slot to go now. Speeding things up again. Sylphie and Venusamon once again. Dara and Digimon X again. Megidra and Diver. Last two from the right. Crossroad Witch and Alec. Final from the right. Styracomon and a Revivemon. That's it for the left side. Now on to the left. Let's see what we get as our final alt slot. Dara and Medusa. Finally, another Aegis and a Raidro. Skullseedra and a Master Blimp. And Lana and a D-Zip. Shell and Crossroad Witch. Yep, and then Sharkmon, and then our next SR hit from the set is Titanmon plus Skull Beluchimon. 14 tar play, or Digivolves generically for form, off of a level 6 purple-green. Is Rush Piercing Execute body, with the ability to stumble using Titanmon and Skull Beluchi. As well, has the on-play when Digivolving and when attacking, no once return clause, trash one card in hand, then delete all opposing Digimon with the lowest level, and then non-delete. You're then able to play out one Titanmon or one level 5 or lower Digimon with the Titan trait from trash without paying the cost. Then, next up, that's 2-1. Speeding up again, Dara and a Sylphie. Trying not to spoil myself on the last card. Oryu and Megidra. Down to the last 5. Alec and Shark once again. And another SR hit in this pack. Let's see what we get. Roko, and then we get a regular for Dan and Kanan. Last 3. Let's see what we get as our final few with our SR, well, alt art slot. Skipping all the way. Master Blimp, and Pyarani, we hit Dan and Kanan once again as the alt art. And sleeving this up once again. And that leaves 2 packs left. And let's see what we end off on. skipping forward. Right, and Skull C draw. And now the final one. Yep. Trying to avoid spoilers. Chill. And we end off with our new level 7 for the Dragonkin deck, that being Styracomon. Being 14 to our play, or Digimon for 4, generically off of any level 6 red, or alternatively, while you have Owen on board, you're able to Digivolve off of Lamia for 6. As Progress, Piercing, Blocker, and Armor Purge, all pretty good lineups of keywords, which then falls into the line of effects. Since off Digivolve, you may trash one posing any of your opposing security. Then this Digimon gets to unsuspend, with the altern's once return effect. Whenever it sees opposing security cards being removed, you're able to delete any one of their Digimon. In addition, it has the altern's protection effect, that whenever one of your reptiles or dragonkins would leave the battle area, you're able to blow up lowest DP on the opponent's side to prevent them from leaving. Thus putting Styracomon quite up there in terms of use, especially in Dragonkin, considering that you have quite the sticky stack of a Digimon with Armor Purge, allowing you to keep most of the stack, as well as that protection to then blow up opposing Digimon. Overall, that's it for box 2. Now on to the recap. For the most part, we're looking at a mid-roll box with 2 alt-art SRs, with the first box, and then the second box being a mid-high roll with 1 SR alt-art and 1 regular secret rare. But overall, I'm pretty much satisfied with these results. Since going into this format, I'm going to be a bit more frugal, pretty much focusing on the more, avoiding really the main theme of Time Changers, of the Time Changer decks that can be built through here, as my main point of interest upcoming is definitely going to be EX11, considering how many of the decks I've already shown interest in or through Liberator's time being active. As branching off from here, I am definitely going to be building off of the newly upgrading Liberator Dragonkin, since we have Styracomon and the new line for Elizamon, new iteration of the Elizamon line, that helps with its normal game plan. But overall, that has been my look at BT24 Time Changers for the Digimon TCG. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this around to keep up with with what else I get to as we go into the BT24 format. And this is Cyberdraw signing off.